Hello and welcome to Black 7 Tech News of the Week. A lot happened during this week, so I'm going to try to deliver all these news as fast as I can. Let's go. In the first news of today, there are a few more rumors about the RTX 50 series, and this time is Copite 7 Kimi once again, confirming that the new RTX 50 series are going to have DisplayPort 2.1, and he's also confirming that it's going to be on the TSMC 3 processor node. And in other rumored news, it looks like Nvidia is not going to be replacing the 4070 with the 4070 Super, which if this is true, it means that the 4070 and the 4070 Super are going to exist at the same time in the market. They're going to both be sold at the same time. And like it says here, the RTX 4080 Super will be replacing the RTX 4080 and the 4070 Ti Super will be replacing the 4070 Ti. The 4070 Super will not replace the regular 4070. It will just coexist. Instead, it will coexist with the 4070. But all that matters now is the pricing. What is the pricing going to be for them? Are the pricing for the regular, the the graphics cards that are already released, like a 4070 Ti and the regular 4070, going to change? By how much? Let's just wait and see what the MSRP are going to be for them. And in other news, Intel has released another driver update, which gives even more performance once again, but this time is not for gaming. This time the performance for the stable diffusion. So this is all for AI. I don't really care about AI that much, but Intel has been advancing very fast and very well in the optimizations and on the driver updates. It's been doing a great job, and I hope they continue because if they do, they are already getting very close to be a very good competitor. But if they continue in this space, they are definitely going to be competing with the big boys, and that's what we all want: more competition, which is only good for us because we get better prices for more performance, or simply more performance but at the same price. And in more Nvidia news, the RTX 4090 hits $2,000 and €2,000 in average price. As you can see here, this screenshot was taken on the 22nd, and the lowest price you can have for a 4090 in US dollars was 1700 US dollars, and that is the cheapest price, and it's most likely gone. All of them are over 2000, 2020, 2200, 2300, and so on. And if we keep scrolling down, we can see that in Europe, the price has also increased. 4090's average price in October, this is in euros, so in Europe, was 1770 as an average. In November, it went up to 2068 euros. And it will keep going up if this continues, this problem in China continues. This is a lot of legal issues that I'm not going to go into, as I don't even fully understand them. It's a very complicated issue, but we are the ones getting price hikes on the GPUs once again. And to those who watched my previous tech news of the week, I stated in one of the news that Asus launched a 4060 Ti with an M.2 slot. Well, an experiment has been done by Asus. They tried to connect a 4090 in the M.2 slot of the 4060 Ti, and it worked. It does not work as storage, it just works as an external graphics card. So the 4090 was being used as an external graphics card. They used an M.2 to PCIe Gen 4 x 4 adapter. This works. Why? Because the 4060 Ti only has, out of the 16 pins, only 8 PCIe lanes are connected to the GPU die. The remaining lanes are completely free, and they were using these remaining lanes so that you could expand your storage in your gaming PC with an M.2 in the back of the GPU. And they decided to try to make this funny experiment of, as you can see, here's the M.2, the experiment of putting an M.2 to PCIe adapter and slot the 4090 here. There's the image, the 4090 into the M.2 of the 4060 Ti, and it worked. It's a funny experiment. I'll link the video of the Asus themselves doing this experiment down below. And in other GPU news, ASRock has launched a new Radeon RX 7900 XT Phantom Gaming in white. They already had a black version as you can see here. But now they're launching it in a white design, but the PCB is still black, and so is the heatsink. As you can see here in some images, I can show you quickly. The heatsink, there you go, remains silver, and they didn't change. Well, the bracket obviously will maintain the same. Here you can see a little bit more of the heatsink. It still remains the same color, and obviously the PCB maintains the black design. Still a very beautiful graphics card in white. Now moving on to some RAM news. G.Skill launches the Zeta R5 Neo DDR5 6400 MHz for Threadripper 7000 series. I will show you some images here. Of course, it's AMD Expo certified. It'll be available in quad channel configurations only. A 64 gigabyte kit, so it's 64 times 4 sticks of 16 gigabytes, or 4 sticks of 32 gigabytes, which will be 128 gigabytes of RAM. Continuing with more RAM news, vColor has also unveiled their 7200 MHz overclocked DIMMs, also for the AMD Threadripper 7000 series. They will also come in 64 gigabyte kit and 128 gigabyte kit. It's exactly the same as G.Skill's, 4 sticks of 16 gigabytes and 4 sticks of 32 gigabytes. Moving on to some gaming news, on the December 5th, CD Projekt Red is going to release a free update patch for Cyberpunk 2077 that includes a fully functional metro, a radio port, replayable car races, boss fight improvements, and more. And now in CPU related news, AMD's embargo lifts on the 20th of November for the Threadripper 7000 series and the Pro 7000 series. And I'm not going to name everyone, but if you want to see any of these YouTubers' reviews, um, Bauer, Gamers Nexus, Hardware Unboxed, Paul's Hardware, and so on. This is the list of which CPUs each YouTuber did a review of. And in the same day, a few hours later, AMD themselves have claimed that an overclocked Threadripper Pro 7995 WX can achieve 184,000 points on Cinebench R23. That is absurd. That is a huge jump over there was a world record before set by two epic, two epic 9654 CPUs that achieved 147,000 points, and one Threadripper Pro alone beat this number by 37,000 points more on its own. That is seriously impressive. I don't talk much about Threadripper or server grade CPUs, but this is an impressive achievement. And this was done with air cooling, so imagine what they can do with liquid nitrogen. But yeah, this was being, you can pause the video at any point whenever you want to check this graphics better. I'll zoom in as well. But this was done with a 10,000 MSRP CPU. This is the top end of them with 96 core and 192 threads with the base core 2.5, but they do go up to, this is a turbo clock of 5.1 gigahertz. And then the very next day, Elmore, Dirbauer, and Shamino, I'm not sure I pronounced your name right, I'm sorry, worked together to break a new world record. Elmore Overclocker team has reached 201,000 points in Cinebench R23, and they consumed just under 1600 watts, 1580 watts to be more precise. But it doesn't stop there. 3 days after that, so on the 24th, the world record was beaten again at 210,000 points and an OC, an overclock of 6.2 gigahertz. That is way higher than the 5.1 stock turbo clock. And continuing with CPU news, Intel's Core i3-14100 was already being sold on Goodfish, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which was being sold for around 118 US dollars. And as the seller claims, it's not a final retail sample, but a qualification sample. However, the specs should be the same, and it supports the same boost frequency. And if you go all the way down, you can see here that 14100 is 4 core, 8 threads with 4 P cores and no E cores with 3.5 gigahertz base and 60-watt TDP, and it will come with an iGPU. And in other news, the Chinese black market is already flooded with unreleased Intel 14th Gen Core CPUs. There you go. We saw the 14100 on Goodfish, and now we're seeing more CPUs on Goodfish as well, like the 14500, the 14500T, and the 14400F. And the 14400F is a 65 watt CPU with 2.5 base clock and a 4.7 boost clock with 10 cores, 16 threads. From those 10 cores, 6 are P cores and 4 are E cores. The 14500T is a 35-watt CPU with 1.7 gigahertz base clock with 14 cores and 20 threads. That's 6 P cores and 8 E cores, and exactly the same E cores, P cores, and amount of threads on the 14500 non-T, but instead of 35 watts, it has 65 watts. And instead of the 1.7 gigahertz, it will have 2.6 gigahertz of base clock and a 5 gigahertz boost clock. And on the very next day, one of the unreleased CPUs, the 14400F CPU, was tested, and it's barely 5% faster than the predecessor 13400. I'm sorry if I flashed you. The 13400, it's a 10 core 16 threads. From those 10 cores, 6 being performance cores and 4 being E cores. With a 4.6 gigahertz turbo, this CPU, the 13400, is a 65 watt, and the 14400F is also a 65 watt chip, but it's barely 5% better than the 13400, which is also an i5, the predecessor to this one. Yeah, it's not a great performance jump. If you're watching this, thank you so much for watching until the end of the video. Please consider hitting the like and the subscribe button. It costs you absolutely nothing and it helps the channel significantly. I was very sick for almost a full week, and that's why I didn't publish any video last week. Now there's a big delay on the tech news from my part, and I'm not fully cured yet, but I'm way better, so I'm going to do my best to continue with the tech news. I also have different and new content coming soon in this channel, so keep an eye for the next video. Once again, thank you for watching and thank you for your patience, and I hope you all have a beautiful weekend.